Welcome to Empowered Mind, Body, Soul. I'm your host, Olivia Paige with Ascension Healing Sounds, and today we are joined by special guest Paula Darch with Heart Center Academy of Healing. And today we are going to be talking about her book, Parenting from Chaos to Freedom. Empowered Mind, Body, Soul. A podcast journey to your truth with heartfelt stories, sound healing, and life hacks. Hi, Paula. Thank you for being here.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear more about your book. Why don't you tell us what led you to write your book?
So, parenting from chaos to freedom, living with parental grief is actually my story. My story about my son and myself and our journey together. It was a challenging journey, and what led me to write the book was realizing as a therapist how many parents were actually going through the same chaos as what I was and had been for many years. And I realized that through my journey, I felt so alone. I didn't feel like I had support. There was just so much disconnection. And so I was really struggling with it. So it took me a very long time to convince myself that it was okay to write this book, and really had to overcome a lot of fear around getting the story out there. So, in a nutshell, the story is about myself and the struggles that I had. In the very beginning, I always wanted a child, and I lost my first child and found out that I had a condition called endometriosis. I had many surgeries and was told I couldn't have children. And that started such a big grief pattern off right from losing the first child, and then being told that I couldn't have any, to then a miraculous thing happening where I did fall pregnant, and I was just over the moon. But that pregnancy was not one that went smoothly. There was a lot of upsetting in it. The father left at 5 months pregnant, and then during the pregnancy, my son stopped growing, and for a long time we were in hospital. Forward stepping, he was born very tiny, and we had a big journey of growth and understanding through his development and through that pregnancy. But what the book is really about is the journey that my son and I went through when he was abused at the age of 3 years old. I was dating a man that I thought was the bee's knees. And to me and my life, the way he was presenting himself was this the most amazing, generous man. And I'd never had that in my life. But under the surface, he was actually beating my son for the 3 months that we were together. Through the trauma, my son and I were disconnected, and he landed up with frontal lobe damage to the brain, massive amounts of behavior issues and what have you. And that started the roller coaster of trying to get him help and support through the system, but the system kept on letting us down. And every time
I'm so
they gave
sorry.
him a new diagnosis, what I felt happened was that he became more of the diagnosis because he was living up to that expectation of what he was being told he was, and I was losing him more and more. Over a period of quite a number of years, he was diagnosed with so many mental health behavioral problems. And as I said, each one, I felt like I lost my son more and more. The last specialist that we went to see, the psychologist, told me that he had another form of mental health behavioral, which was conduct disorder. And in front of my son, this psychologist told my son and I that he would be in jail in the next couple of years. He will be a drug addict. And so just let him go. Actually, set him up now to go to jail because that's where he's going to go anyway. My son heard that. And within the year, my son was a drug addict. He was doing all sorts of criminal behavior, and I lost him. And I lost him for a long time while he was on that journey of that drug addiction. And I remember one day cleaning up his room, and I felt like I was cleaning his room because he was dead. And it was the hardest thing I really had to do as a parent. But what I discovered in that was that over the years, I had been grieving my son. I had been grieving that expectation. I had been grieving that illusion. I had been grieving that image. You hold your child in your womb space for, however long they decide to be in there. And you have a picture in your mind of what your life is going to be like. And what I
Yeah.
realized was that wasn't what my picture was. It wasn't what my expectation
Mhm.
was. So every single time I was disillusioned, I started the grieving process over and over again. And many years later, had to actually understand that we as parents grieve for the children that we expected to have, and through no fault of our own, didn't actually have that. When we are told that there is something wrong with our child, or they go through trauma or diagnosis, whatever that may be, we are not supported. We are just given a diagnosis. And so, through all of those challenges, I started healing. I started understanding the grief pattern and working on that grief pattern within myself. And what I realized was, as I was working on it, I started to attract clients that were going through the same thing. And I was like,
What
wow.
did I was just gonna ask, what did your healing journey look like? What did you do for yourself to heal?
So I went to a lot of healers and actually did a lot of healing. And what was really interesting was that through the healing process and going and having healing done, what I learnt was that my son and I had 46 past lives together, and 22 of those he had always died before me. So before he even
Wow.
came into the world, I was grieving for him. When he was in the womb space,
Mhm.
I was grieving for him. And I had been grieving for him for such a long time before I even realized that was what was actually going on.
Wow.
Yeah. So yes, I did lots of healings on myself. I had the opportunity to learn NLP and timeline therapy, and then
Mhm.
hypnotherapy as well. While I was learning NLP and hypnotherapy, I was going through the processes. It was amazing because I was able to do so much unconscious healing work on each one of those levels. So unconscious, super conscious, connecting to the higher self, and really understanding that the grief was so multi-leveled that I was not aware of. And so if I wasn't aware of it going through all of this, then how are other parents going to understand that or go through that too without knowledge? And so for me, that's the reason why I wrote the book. The book was about knowledge. It was allowing parents to know and understand that what's happening to their children is not actually about necessarily them. And that was a key factor for me because society, as soon as a child misbehaves, society goes, oh, it must be the parents' problem. It must be something the parents doing wrong. And what I have learned through my journey, and that is releasing that, understanding that my son's behavior was his behavior. He was choosing to behave that way. It wasn't my parenting and it wasn't anything that I had done wrong. It was the choices that he was making. And so when I
Mhm.
wrote the book, I have this really clear understanding in here that the child's behavior is not the parents' choices, it's the child's choices that they're making. And how do we support the child and how do we support the parents in that belief? How do we support that? So there's tips and tricks, there's tools in the book of how to support yourself, but how to support the child through that process. Because one of the things that I wrote in the book was there was a lot of things that I was angry about. What I didn't realize but was that he was seeing my anger, and so he was then angry himself. So that wasn't my fault, but he was taking on the energy of what I am. and what's not in
Mm,
the afterwards. And that is, our children are in our aura until they're 14 years of age. So if our children are in the parents' aura, especially the mum's aura, what are the children
mm-hmm.
feeling? The children are going to be feeling everything that we're feeling. So if we're
Yeah, for
angry,
sure.
they're unconsciously going to be picking up on anger, and it may not even be their anger. It may be the parents' anger that the child's picking
Mm.
up on because they're in our aura.
Yeah, I can see how that works. I mean, that I feel like that's we share our energy with the people around us, whether they're family or living with us. We can feel the energy of the world
Mm,
and pick up on the grief or the sadness of the world or the
yeah.
frustration or the worry. And yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Can you talk? Oh, go ahead.
That's all right. You go ahead.
I was just going to ask, can you talk a little bit about NLP therapy and what that is?
Sure. So NLP is neuro linguistic programming. So, what it actually is there to do and support people with is to actually go through the patterns of the unconscious, subconscious, superconscious, which is part of our brain process. It's part of our body process, energy process. And what it's able to do is actually unpack and go through the levels of where is the emotion sitting at, where did the emotions start? And so often, what we're feeling in this lifetime is not ours, it's genealogical, it is past life related, it is maybe out in the ancestors, because within the neuro linguistic programming NLP, what that really taught me was that we hold 7 generations of emotions, beliefs, decisions in our body. So our DNA holds 7 generations. And a
Mm,
child's belief system is made by the time they're 3. So if anything in
okay.
their world, like whatever's happening in their world for those first 3 years, is what they will take on as that's the belief system, that's the emotions, that's what the world looks like and should look like. But the problem being is that's not their belief. So then we grow up totally inconsistent with our own belief system, because we
Mm,
are in the belief that we have to believe something that is not true for ourselves. So we are incongruent for so much of our life, thinking, oh, we have to do this way, or this way is the belief system, or this way is the way I have to feel. So, how do we then unpack that? We do the
yeah, that's
unconscious work.
how do you use NLP therapy to work through those beliefs?
Yeah. So with NLP therapy, it's about working in the unconscious state. I have learned NLP and I really loved it. However, what I've learned to do now is I have formed my own unconscious healing and my own patterns. I have written my own healing modalities around unpacking them. For
Okay.
me, I use the framework of unconscious patterning, but I've created my own
Hmm.
healing modalities, which I find
Yeah.
have worked for me, work for my clients, and everything as well. So, what it really is about is finding out that, asking the unconscious mind, where did the pattern start? Where did the emotions start? Who does it belong to? Finding out those root questions first, and then taking the person on a hypnotic journey through the unconscious to then bypass the consciousness and then actually go into the unconscious. And sometimes we have to go to the superconscious, because the superconscious
What is the
mind,
superconscious?
so the superconscious mind, what that does is that holds everything in the state of, I must stay here because I'm safe. But are we safe in trauma? Are we safe in that belief
Yeah.
pattern? No. But the superconscious will go, we're safe, we're safe, we're safe. We'll stay here.
Mm,
We're stuck here. We're safe, we're safe. So we have to actually bypass the unconscious level, and we go straight to the superconscious, and we speak to the superconscious and let it know that it's safe to let it go. It is safe to release that trauma. It is safe to actually back and allow for those levels because we're safe now. And so a lot of the time what we do in the super conscious is actually taking a child or taking a client through what's called an inner child rescue and inner child healing,
Okay.
because the superconscious mind has held that child into that level of that stuckness. So, for example, for my son, he was 3 years old when he was abused. So his superconscious is stuck in the consciousness, and the superconscious, he's stuck in that 3-year old belief, I'm not safe. So then
Yeah. But
everything
that's
in his life,
understandable that you could get stuck there, right? When you have a trauma like that, it's
absolutely.
understandable.
Yep.
But of course, it's important to be able to acknowledge that and try to do some type of healing and work through it so that you
Yes.
aren't letting it control who you are and how you proceed in your day to day life.
Yeah. And the other thing with the body and the soul, and that is wherever there has been significant trauma, then the soul will actually exit the body and stay stuck in that 3-year-old body. So
Mm,
part of
interesting.
the soul will actually stay stuck in that level of consciousness wherever the trauma actually.
I
My
see.
son, for example, I would say to him, do you feel lost, mate? And he said, always and ever for mum. So there was always a part of him, and that was the reason for the drug addiction. The drug addiction would allow him not to feel lost, not to feel trauma,
Mm,
not to feel what he didn't want to feel. He was able to escape for that period of time. But of course, with drug
I see.
addiction, they can only be in that void of nothingness for the period of time that drug's actually working. So with my son's addiction, I've learned a lot about drug addiction. I've learned a lot about drugs because I've been able to actually ask him those questions. Hey mate, why is it that you do this? And he would say to me, because I can escape from my thoughts. I can escape from my body. I can escape from, you know, this constant. And I'm like, yeah, but it only lasts a short amount of time. And he goes, that's why we take more. And that's why we go to the next level and the next level and the next level, because the more and the different types will be whatever they experience through that.
I see. Through the experiences that you had, just probably in life in general, and becoming a parent and the trauma with your son, is that what led you to create the Heart Center Academy of Healing?
It certainly did. Yes. For me, it was really about creating a space where people could feel safe. They could come and talk to me. They could sit with me in discussion. Or the most important thing is that people feel alone when they're going through this and they don't know where to go, because not everybody is going to understand this journey. Not every healer, not every practitioner is going to understand the journey of trauma and what that looks like, what
Mm,
that feels like. And because I have personally experienced it, then I'm able to sit with them and listen. Because at the end of the day, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for somebody that will just listen and be there for the understanding. Whether that turns into the healing, the coaching, whatever it may be, that's wherever it leads to. But I really didn't want, and I still don't want people to feel alone in their journey like I did.
I think they want to feel, I shouldn't say that I think it's a human trait, and maybe some of us try to ignore it, but that we want to feel acknowledged and validated and heard and seen and feel like it's okay and feel like it's safe to feel the things that we feel and to be able to
Absolutely.
keep having those feelings without feeling ridiculed for, oh, why are you still feeling that happened so long ago?
Yeah. Something that my spirit guides showed me a long time ago was that when somebody goes through trauma, what happens is their light switch to their soul turns off. They hide. that light within
Yeah.
them is either dulled or completely switched off. And so, what I'm here for is to support a person turn that light switch on for themselves, to feel safe that they can turn that light back on.
So, can you tell us a little more about your personal healing modality and your coaching?
Sure. So I have written and teach four healing modalities of my own. One that I am really passionate about, and that is the Healing Tree of Life process. It is a four-step healing coaching program that I take people through over 2 days. What it does is it finds the unconscious pattern. What's the root cause of a problem? And I then take them through the second process, which is a beautiful journey to find their tree of life, because we all created from a seed. We are a tree. We are all a tree of life. All of our emotions and all of our beliefs and everything else are actually in that tree. So I take them on the journey to find that. We then meet the tree, we feel the tree, we connect with that tree. We then travel inside the tree and find out where in that tree you're holding on to whatever that is, the emotion, the belief. We then find out what we need to learn, what we need to know, what we need to discover. And then, with all of that knowing and learning, we recreate it into brand new choices, new belief systems that we are ready to accept and acknowledge within ourselves. And then we come back with all of those brand new choices. The third step in that process is a hands on healing, an energetic healing. And we go right inside the energetic body and find out what is within the energetic body, where in the cells, where in the organs, where are you holding on to those emotions and beliefs. And then again, we go right inside that cell, right inside that organ, right inside wherever it is. And then we find out again, what do we need to know? What do we need to learn? What are the choices that we're now going to make? And then we bring all of that brand new energy into our body and recreate the new choices. The fourth step of this process is actually, with everything that we've written down, all those new choices, we start to drop them into a timeline of new belief systems. So we drop them into a 3 month, 6 month, 12 month, and 3 year belief system. And so then we're seeing it, we're feeling it, we're knowing that it's all true now. So we're able to recreate a brand new life that we choose without all of those old emotions and beliefs anymore. So that's the healing tree of life. So I love teaching this one because this one's really working on that deep core emotions. The other
That
healing
sounds amazing.
modalities that I offer, and that is working with the Lemurian energy. So working with the
Mhm.
Lemurians and the Lemurian crystals. And what we do with the Lemurian crystals is we work on the crystalline energy. We call in the Lemurian energy and we hold the crystals, the Lemurian crystals, on chakra points, and we speak to the chakra and we unlock all of the hidden knowledge, the wisdom that has been locked deep into that chakra. And it's been really amazing with this healing modality because the light language that seems to come out of people, because all of that hidden ancient knowledge that comes to the surface. So that's the Lemurian seed of light. And then I teach another one with the goddess Isis. I was a healer in a past life with goddess Isis, and she re-gifted this beautiful modality to me. So this one is called the golden thread of light. What this one does is it works on the chakra system again, and we go through the chakras and find out what's hidden within the chakra. And each chakra has got a picture, an ideogram that Spirit gave me, which are made up into cards. We then go within the body and the ideogram of the chakra, and we pull out the golden thread, like that thread that no longer belongs in our body. We wrap it around whatever that ideogram is, and then Goddess Isis comes along and pulls that thread out for you. And then we recreate and we become a lighthouse. They're all individual healings, but all very powerful as well. And then I teach spiritual development as well with my healing cards that I created a few years ago, which again are all chakra based as well.
Oh, wow. Oh, that all sounds amazing. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
they're really good.
great. So, can people work with you virtually or do you only work in person?
So, what I'm going to be starting to do is the healing modalities that I have written and everything, I'm going to start to bring them onto online. So, they are in person for people that want to come to them. I also like to travel. So, if I get a group of people, I'm happy to travel to teach. But what I am looking at doing within the next few months is actually starting to bring some of these teachings online. So then making videos of them so then people can purchase them and then do them themselves as well. So I am looking at creating online content as well for some of the courses. The Healing Tree of Life, I feel like that one is really needs to be more of an in person because that one that one goes on such a deep unconscious level. So I don't feel that one can be done online purely because I feel I like to be there with my people so that I can help them. If they get stuck, I like to be able to come in and just be able to support with that one as well. But the other three I'm looking at putting online.
Okay. And you're based in Australia?
Yeah, South Australia, Adelaide.
Okay. All right. So, how is your son doing? Has he done any healing work? Has he done any healing work with you, like with any of your modalities?
Nope. Nope. He
Okay.
I really wish he would, and I keep on asking him and I keep offering him and what have you. The thing with trauma, and that is that you have to be ready to unpack it and you have to be ready to release it. Unfortunately, he's still not there yet. I do believe there will be a day that he will be ready and he'll be ready to heal it, he'll be ready to unpack it and everything. But right now, he's still, unfortunately, stuck in that trauma state. And as a parent and as a healer myself, I found that really hard. All you want to do is save your children. All you want to do is heal them. And the unfortunate
Mhm.
thing is that you can't do something if somebody's not ready. So I've had
Right.
the one thing that I do for my son, and that is I send him love and I send him distant healing so that his body's able to receive what it's ready to receive when he's ready to receive it. And I do feel that distant healing, I do feel like that love and that connection does also help. But what I do feel has helped him over time, and that is that I, as a mum, I have healed I've healed my trauma. I've healed the trauma that we had together. And so unconsciously, that umbilical cord that we have to our children energetically never disappears. The doctors cut it physically, but we will forever have an energetic cord of energy, the umbilical cord to our children. And what I do believe has helped him is the work that I have done for myself that I feel that has helped him and his journey. Because what's been
Mhm.
really interesting is every time I have a healing and I heal something within myself, he will always contact me. It's like he knows, but he doesn't know. He doesn't know physically that I've had a healing.
Mm.
Knows because he always feels better. So
Wow, that's awesome.
I've done a lot of work for him by doing the healing work on myself, which I think is really important
Mm.
us as parents. Yep.
I agree. Definitely. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about your book or anything else that we've discussed here today before we wrap up?
I just want to show people the book itself. Here it is. This is
Yeah.
Parenting from Chaos to Freedom, Living with Parental Grief. What I just want to say with this book, and that is that it's an easy read. So you can purchase this book through me. I think that Olivia is going to put the links up for you. You can also purchase
Yep.
the book on Amazon as an ebook as well. So you can download it instantly and read it through one of your devices. But it's a nice, easy book. I wrote this book so that parents could pick up and read a page or a couple of pages and a couple of people have read the whole book in an hour and a half. It's an easy read book. It's not a challenge to read. With reading the book, one of the things that I've loved about this book, and that is I've had people buy this book that are not parents and have found how much this book has actually helped them without even being a parent because there's so many things in this book that are just about life itself. It's about grief. So even if you don't have a child and you have experienced any form of trauma or grief, this book will actually help you because it's got so much in here, so much knowledge. It's got tips on how you can support yourself. There's a chapter in this book that is called The Masking. I didn't realize, Olivia, that I was wearing so many masks for society and for so many people until I actually realized the masks that I was wearing. And so I have a chapter in here about the masks and starting to
Okay.
like see the mask for what it is and then unpacking it, letting it go. And every time I let go of a mask, I was wearing 6 masks. Now, they're not
Wow.
identities, they were masks that I was wearing for each group or society or belief that I
Right.
was holding on to. I felt so much freer being able to live that life as just authentically me rather than living the life of each one of these masks so that I could fit in to whatever that was. And how many
Right.
times are we doing things to fit in because of whatever reason? Do we have to
Right.
wear that
Yeah.
mask? No, we don't. This
Yeah.
book is really helpful to everybody. It's not just about parenting.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like an amazing book. And I am so grateful that you have come on and chatted with me today about your book and about your journey and being vulnerable and courageous to share your story. So, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. As soon as I saw the post that you put out, I just knew that I needed to connect with you. So thank you so much for responding. And thank you so much for having me on your beautiful show.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you so much. And you too.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me in today's episode. Be sure to check the show notes for guest links and other helpful information. I'm your host, Olivia Paige, and you can find me on all the social media platforms at Ascension Healing Sounds.